Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. In this video we will study lecture number 3 of research methodology. In the previous lecture we discussed about review of literature and assessing the current status of the chosen topic. In this lecture we will discuss about hypothesis, research design, the attributes of a research scholar, actual investigation in research, and finally results and conclusion. So, dear students, a hypothesis is a scientifically reasonable prediction. It is often stated in terms of if-then sentences in certain logical forms. A hypothesis should provide what we expect to find in the chosen research problem. That is, the expected or proposed solution based on available data and tentative explanations constitute the hypothesis. Every research problem is undertaken aiming at certain outcomes. That is, before starting actual work such as performing an experiment or theoretical calculation or numerical analysis, we expect certain outcomes from the study. These expectations form the hypothesis. Hypothesis is made only after the survey of relevant literature and learning the present status of the field of research. It can be formulated based on previous research and observation. To formulate a hypothesis, the researcher should acquire enough knowledge in the topic of research and a reasonably deep insight about the problem. Now we see what are the criteria of a good hypothesis. A hypothesis should have conceptual clarity and a theoretical orientation. It should be stated in a suitable way so that it can be tested by investigation. A hypothesis made initially may become incorrect when the data obtained are analyzed. In this case, it has to be revised. It is important to state the hypothesis of research problem in a research report. Now we see what is the research design. Napoleon Hill suggested that plan your work and work your plan. Means first we should plan the research work and then we should work on our plan that is already made. For scientific research, one has to prepare a research design. It should indicate the various approaches to be used in the solving research problem, sources and information related to the problem, time frame and the budget cost. Essentially, the research design creates the foundation of the entire research work. The design will help to perform the chosen topic easily and in a systematic way. Once the research design is completed, the actual work can be carried out. The first step in the actual work is to learn the facts related to the problem, particularly the theoretical methods, numerical techniques, experimental techniques, and other relevant data and tools necessary for the present study have to be calculated and learned. A researcher has to identify and select materials which are useful to the present work. Scientific research is based on certain mathematical, numerical, and experimental methods. These sources have to be properly studied before applying them to the problem of interest. Now we see possible approaches to be followed by a researcher. A researcher can exercise some aspects regularly throughout the research career which will keep him in the right track. Discussion with the supervisor, experts, and colleagues about the research work, particularly the problem and its origin, objectives and difficulties faced in the problem. Reading of the latest research papers, relevant theories, and possible application to the present problem and to overcome the difficulties faced. Review of the work reported on similar problems. Theoretical calculations, setting up an experimental setup, numerical calculations, computer programs, preparation of graphs, tables, and other relevant work related to the research should be done by a new researcher by himself without assistance from others. The researcher should have a practice of writing the work done, results obtained periodically. In fact, writing of the progress of work will help us better understand our work and form a solid basis for further progress. It also points out the gaps in our work. Participation and presentation of research findings in national and international conferences. These regular practices provide useful information like new ideas and can help the researcher to focus attention and in the interpretation of the solution obtained. Absolute honesty, patience, stamina, precision, and devotion to the subject of matter, together with imagination and analytical ability, are among the requirements for scientific research. Now, dear students, we see what should be the attributes of a research scholar. Number 1. The research scholar should have self-confidence. Number 2. Dedication. Number 3. Concentration, determination, analytical mind. The researcher should have subject knowledge, originality, innovative approach, that a researcher should know latest skills and technology. The researcher should have intellectual curiosity. He should have freedom from obsession of clock and calendar. It means he should have enough time to do research work. He should have flexibility. He should have keen observation. The researcher should be intelligent. The researcher should be passionate for knowledge. He should have questioning attitude, spirit of inquiry. He should have precision and accuracy in obtaining the solutions, and patience, social skills, presentation skills, and writing skills. These are the qualities of a good research scholar. Now we see what is the actual investigation in research. First of all, we see that what is a good research. The research work published in reputed international journals, cited by other researchers working in the same topic and which added new information to the existing knowledge on a topic, are generally considered as good research. One should aim at doing good research. To identify a best research, the quality of one's research publications, number of citations of his publications, projects completed, books published, contribution made to the science and society, etc., can be considered as good research. At the beginning of a research career, a young researcher should aim to produce a good research, particularly his research findings should distinguish him from other researchers. Dear students, now we see what are the points to be kept in mind in order to do a good research. Number 1. Actual investigation should lead to original contribution and not involve objectionable duplication. Originality is the basic credit point of any research. Therefore, actual investigation must be directed towards obtaining novel results. A researcher should develop new ideas and obtain deep insight into the problem in order to get novel and new results, which are the characteristics of a good research. In scientific work, creative thinking demands seeing things not seen previously or in ways not previously imagined. Trivial analysis should not be performed. Recently introduced theories, experimental techniques, and numerical algorithms have to be used instead of outdated methods. Before applying any method, the researcher should familiarize with the features of the method. It is not worthwhile to continue in a particular direction if the results are trivial and less informative. If similar problems have already been done, for instance about 10 years ago, then the researcher should not consider it as important but could treat it as a useful exercise. Moreover, we do research by conceiving information and openings from important research papers published by other researchers in the topic of interest and continue in our own directions. The work of some other researchers might have formed the basis of our research. Similarly, our research outcomes should help other researchers. That is, the work should be such that it should invite others to read and, more importantly, to use it and cite it in their research work. Our work should lead to recognition and respect. It should fetch joy and benefits others as well as us. Moreover, generally each and every work of us may not produce novelty, but if we work towards novelty, then definitely in the course of research there would come a fascinating and exciting breakthrough. Actual work finally leads to results and conclusions of the research undertaken. For proper results, it is necessary that various steps of the work should be scientifically taken and should not have any flaw. Computer algorithms must be tested for the problems for which results are already available. The work should be free from mistakes. Important analysis must be repeated in order to make sure that they are free from human mistakes. A researcher should check, recheck, cross-check all the results before submitting a research paper to a journal for publication. Before beginning to write a part of the work done and the results obtained, check and recheck the data and the results by repeating the experiment, running the programs and going through the theoretical derivations and arguments. In the case of modification of a theory and proposal of a new method, the assumptions made, basic idea and calculations should be clearly stated and analyzed. Various special cases of the theory and method must be identified. The validity, efficiency and applicability of it must be demonstrated with examples. Merits and demerits have to be identified. Comparison of the proposed method with the already existing similar methods should be performed. The next step after performing the actual research work on the chosen problem is preparation of results and conclusion of the performed work. Predictions, results and conclusions are ultimate goals of the research performed. Proper interpretation of the results must be made. It means drawing of conclusion that is based on the study performed. It would bring out relations and processes that underlie the findings. The utility of outcomes of research greatly lie on proper interpretations and is the hardest part of solving a scientific problem. Interpretation of a result is important because it links the present work to the previous. It leads to identification of future problems. It also makes others understand the significance of your research findings. The basic rule in preparing results and conclusion is to give all the evidences relevant to the research problem and its solution. The researcher should not be in a hurry while preparing the results and conclusion. Each and every statement made in the results and conclusion sections must be based on evidence obtained from the theoretical and experimental analysis. Baseless statements should never be made. Don't attempt to report the already reported findings of others as yours. Citing the original resources actually enhances the credibility of your work. The observations, claims, and the conclusions drawn in a research report are subject to a criticism by the experts in the concerned field. Therefore, the researcher has to think twice before presenting the outcomes of the research in a journal and in a scientific meeting. Dear students, this is your assignment number 3. You have to submit this assignment before the next lecture. The first part of the assignment is what is the difference between research problem and hypothesis. The second part of the assignment is describe some of your qualities as a research student. In the next lecture, we will discuss what is an oral report and how to present a scientific seminar and oral report. Take care of yourself and your family. Allah Hafiz.